Chosen one, listen, this moment is not random, it is divine orchestration. Everything around you seems to pause, as if heaven itself wants your full attention. Deep down, you've always known you were different. You've tried to silence it, to fit in, to be normal, but your spirit refuses to blend in because it carries something holy, something the world cannot define or destroy. You are a dual chosen one. Your calling was never meant to stand alone. Somewhere on this earth walks another vessel carrying the reflection of your mission, a soul formed from the same heavenly blueprint. Together, you are two flames destined to ignite a single divine purpose. When one rises, the other awakens. When one falls, the other feels the echo. You are mirrors of power, two halves of one celestial design. You've wondered why life has felt heavier for you, why your struggles have been deeper, your emotions sharper, your spiritual battles more intense. It is because your spirit was built for double weight. You are not fighting for one destiny, but for two. Heaven has assigned you to carry half of a prophecy that cannot unfold until your counterpart is ready. Every tear, every disappointment, every delay has been preparing you for that moment of convergence. And yet, this is not a fairy tale of instant union. It is a divine process. Before heaven joins the two lights, it purifies each one in isolation. It tests your motives, humbles your heart, and refines your obedience. You are in divine training, not punishment. Fire does not destroy gold, it only reveals its purity. Your silent seasons were never wasted. Heaven used them to strengthen your hearing, to teach you the language of faith. The isolation that once felt like rejection was actually heaven's protection. For if you had united too soon, the weight of destiny would have crushed you both. But now, something is shifting. You can feel it in your spirit, a stirring that whispers, the time is near. And right in the center of your transformation, a divine truth rises from ancient words. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay." Hold on to that. Chosen one. The vision, your calling, your connection, your purpose is not canceled. It is scheduled. The delay is divine. Heaven's clock does not run late. Every prayer you thought went unanswered has been gathering weight, waiting for the right alignment. And that alignment begins with your obedience right now. This is not a message to entertain your ears, it's a call to awaken your soul. You have walked through storms that others could not survive, and still, you stand. That endurance is proof of your anointing. When others gave up, you kept believing. When others turned cold, your heart still burned. That is the mark of the chosen. Do not be afraid of your difference anymore. It is your distinction that activates your destiny. You were never meant to blend into the crowd. You are meant to shift atmospheres. When you speak, darkness trembles. When you pray, doors open. When you obey, the earth realigns. The light within you has authority, and soon, you will understand why heaven paired you with another who carries a matching flame. And when your paths finally meet, the heavens will confirm it. Signs, numbers, dreams, and divine encounters will converge in one unmistakable moment. But until then, keep preparing. Stay alert. Keep your heart pure. Your training is sacred and your obedience is unlocking the next phase of destiny. Chosen one, this is your wake-up call. You are entering a new spiritual frequency, a phase where understanding replaces confusion and peace. Silence is fear. You are stepping into the divine storyline written for your life before time began. If this message stirs something deep inside you, do not ignore it. Comment the prophetic number 777 below to declare your alignment with heaven's timing. Then like, share, and subscribe so this word reaches the other chosen ones who are meant to awaken beside you. Your story is only beginning. The vision is set. The clock of heaven is moving. And you dual chosen one are right on time. Do not let doubt steal this moment. Every second you hesitate, darkness rejoices. Stand firm, for heaven is still speaking your name. The same hand that shaped galaxies is shaping your tomorrow. You are not forgotten, you are being positioned for revelation and divine reunion. Soon, the proof will appear. Dreams will confirm, signs will align, and peace will flood your spirit. When it happens, you will know it was never coincidence, only divine timing. Stay faithful, stay expectant, and keep your heart open. The promise is on its way. You are beginning to sense it, the quiet hum beneath the noise of your everyday life. It is not anxiety, not imagination, but divine vibration. Heaven is stirring, and within that movement lies the revelation of two lights, one mission. You were not chosen for an isolated journey, but for a partnership of power. In this partnership, one carries mercy, the other justice, one brings healing, the other fire. Together, both reflect the fullness of the divine nature that no single vessel could contain alone. You were never meant to compete with your counterpart, but to complement them. Where you are soft, they are strong. Where you bring peace, they bring command. Heaven weaves these contrasts together like threads of gold, creating a tapestry of balance that reveals the mind of God. The world sees separation as weakness, but in the kingdom, it is symmetry. You carry one half of heaven's answer to the world's brokenness. Your voice, your gifts, your scars, all are pieces of a greater design. The other chosen one mirrors your essence, though perhaps in a form you would not expect. Their journey may look opposite of yours, yet every lesson they endure is preparing them to stand beside you, not behind you. Heaven assigns dual missions for divine purpose. One cannot fulfill the prophecy alone because the full revelation of light requires reflection. The moon holds no light without the sun, and the sun's glory is made visible when the moon reflects it into darkness. You and your counterpart are that reflection, the divine cycle of illumination. But understand, this duality does not mean duplication. You are not identical flames, you are complementary frequencies. When you finally walk in sync, the vibration of your unity will disrupt darkness and awaken those still asleep in confusion. That is why you have felt opposition since your awakening began, because darkness can sense when light is multiplying. The spiritual laws of balance demand that where light increases, resistance intensifies. But do not mistake resistance for rejection. Resistance is a sign of proximity. The greater the pressure, the closer you are to the point of divine collision where purpose merges with destiny. Heaven's algorithm does not operate by chance, it operates by covenant. You may not yet recognize your counterpart, but heaven has already linked your timelines. Sometimes the Spirit will show you glimpses, faces in dreams, words in prayer, or a sudden surge of emotion when a certain song plays. Do not dismiss these as coincidence. Heaven speaks through whispers, through moments, through stillness. Listen deeply, and even as you wait for that union, remember your first mission is obedience. The second chosen one does not activate your calling, you do. Until both flames burn individually, the combined fire cannot be sustained. That is why your faith is being tested in solitude. You are being trained to govern your own light before heaven entrusts you with shared glory. It is easy to crave recognition or companionship when you feel unseen. But solitude is sacred. It is in aloneness that God shapes generals. When you master stillness, you learn the language of heaven. And once you hear it clearly, you will discern your counterpart's voice when it finally reaches you. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, when loneliness feels heavier than armor. Yet in those moments, remember what the ancient words proclaim. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. You are never walking alone, even when it feels like silence surrounds you. That divine presence, unseen yet unshakable, is the guarantee of your completion. The promise remains when both lights have been refined. Heaven will align your steps and your voices will carry the same sound. The world will not understand it. They will call it coincidence, chemistry, or luck. But those who carry spiritual sight will know it is divine mathematics. 2 lights, 1 mission, 2 hearts, 1 flame, and every battle, every tear, every test is shaping you into a vessel worthy to carry that union. Stay patient in the process. Heaven is not late. When the hour arrives, both of you will know it not through words, but through peace. The silence between now and the moment of convergence is holy ground. Treat it as sacred. Every unanswered question is not denial but design, preparing both of you for divine synchronization that cannot fail. When it happens, you will not need proof. Peace itself will testify. 2 lights will recognize each other without words, and the heavens will confirm with quiet thunder the mission has begun. You feel it again, the pull, the gravity of something larger than you. The air thickens when your path nears theirs. There are no words for it, only a deep resonance that vibrates through your spirit. This is what happens when divine mirrors draw close before their appointed time. Heaven stirs, and so does the opposition. When 2 chosen ones approach each other, the unseen realm trembles. Every unhealed wound begins to surface. Every buried fear rises to be purged. The connection feels magnetic yet chaotic, holy, yet hard to bear. You see glimpses of yourself in their eyes, the same fire, the same ache, the same calling. But mirrors do not only reflect beauty, they reveal cracks. Before 2 chosen lights can unite, every fracture must be exposed to the light of truth. You are learning now that divine collision does not come to complete you. It comes to correct you. Your counterpart is not your escape. They are your revelation. Their presence surfaces what still needs healing. That's why, even when you feel drawn, you also feel resistance. Heaven is using both attraction and tension to refine your soul. There are moments you want to run, to retreat back into silence. The emotions feel overwhelming, almost unbearable. But do not mistake intensity for confusion. It is transformation. The meeting of chosen ones is never casual, it is an activation. 2 divine frequencies trying to find balance in human form. It is in this tension that your next level is born. The chaos is not punishment, it's the sound of heaven rearranging your destiny. For every connection ordained by God, there is a spiritual earthquake that precedes peace. The tremors you feel now are not a warning to flee. They are confirmation that destiny is near. You ask, how do I know this is divine and not deception? The answer lies in peace. Real connection carries peace, not pressure. It draws you toward God, not away from Him. When the right one enters your atmosphere, they do not compete with your calling. They amplify it, as the word declares in the first letter to the Corinthians 1, chapter 13, verse 12. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. You are seeing through that dark glass right now. You recognize the reflection but not the full picture. Heaven is unveiling it piece by piece because revelation must grow alongside readiness. Do not force what heaven is still forming. The fire between you must be tempered before it can illuminate others. So wait with wisdom. Let your spirit mature before the union manifests. God does not rush divine things, He perfects them. Every delay you perceive is actually His protection. The one meant for you is being refined at the same pace, through different fires. When both are ready, you won't have to chase alignment. It will meet you naturally. Until then, stay rooted. Keep your altar burning. Guard your heart from counterfeits who mimic the light but carry no truth. The enemy knows your design and will try to send imitation flames. But your spirit will know the counterfeit brings confusion. The chosen connection brings conviction and peace. And when the time comes, heaven will confirm it in unmistakable ways, divine timing. Recurring visions, even moments where your spirit feels their nearness before words are exchanged. You will simply know. Because what is divine cannot be hidden, it radiates with holy recognition. This connection is not about romance, it's about resurrection. The union of dual chosen ones is heaven's strategy to awaken nations, to restore spiritual order. That's why your path has been so painful. Your preparation carries generational weight. You are not being delayed, you are being prepared to become the bridge between heaven and earth. So now breathe. Let go of the fear of losing what is meant for you. What belongs to you cannot be taken. It can only be delayed until you are strong enough to carry it. Now type these 4 words in faith: I choose alignment. When you write it, you are not merely commenting, you are declaring agreement with heaven's process. You are saying, I will not rush divine timing. I will wait, obey, and align. Let this act be your prophetic signal, your yes to heaven's order. The time is closer than you think. The mirror is awakening, and the collision that once confused you will soon confirm you. When you type, I choose alignment, you are declaring that your spirit yields to divine order, trusting heaven's timing more than your own understanding or impatience. Those 3 words become a spiritual contract. Your written yes to destiny, inviting heaven to align every delay, desire, and direction with the perfect will of God. The hidden war between mirrors has already begun, though few recognize its depth. You feel it in the sudden heaviness that descends without cause, in the spiritual fatigue that arrives after moments of joy, in the strange resistance that rises whenever you draw nearer to your divine counterpart. This war is not waged in the visible, it unfolds in the invisible corridors of the spirit, where light and darkness fight for dominion over destiny. You must understand. Chosen one, the enemy fears union more than anything else. A single chosen vessel carries fire, but 2 united in divine purpose become a storm. When 2 chosen ones stand together, heaven's will manifests with multiplied force, miracles increase, strongholds collapse, and prophetic words accelerate into fulfillment. The adversary's strategy has always been division, and his greatest weapon is distraction. He cannot destroy what is divine, but he can delay it. He does this subtly. He whispers insecurities into your thoughts, feeding doubts about your worth, about your readiness, about whether your purpose was ever real. He replays memories of betrayal, resurrects old wounds, and twists truth into confusion. He knows that if he can turn you against yourself, he can weaken the bond meant to transform nations. But you were not created to live in confusion. Your spirit recognizes the truth even when your mind hesitates. That inner turbulence is not chaos. It is the clash between divine identity and deceptive illusion. Every spiritual battle you face now is proof that you carry authority worth fighting for. You are not being attacked because you are weak. You are being targeted because you are essential. There are days when you feel as if unseen forces drain your strength. You wake heavy, restless, almost disconnected from the peace you once knew. But what you feel is not the absence of God. It is the weight of warfare. The closer you get to alignment, the more intense the resistance becomes. Heaven's light exposes shadows that have hidden for years, forcing darkness to retreat. This is why discernment is vital. Not every voice in your head belongs to you. Not every emotion originates from your heart. The battlefield of a chosen one is often internal, fought in silence while the world sees nothing. Your thoughts are sacred territory, and the enemy knows it. Guard them fiercely, replace lies with truth until peace becomes your default. The Word gives clear guidance for this unseen struggle. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. This is not metaphor, it is instruction. You are engaged in a higher war. Your prayers are not whispers into emptiness, they are commands into eternity. Every time you refuse bitterness, every time you choose forgiveness, you disarm darkness. Every time you remain faithful when silence surrounds you, you strike the enemy where it hurts most in his illusion of control. Your counterpart fights the same battle, perhaps unaware that their warfare mirrors yours. When you feel sudden sorrow, they may be enduring it too. When you experience breakthrough, they might sense a new peace. Heaven has tethered your spirit so deeply that even distance cannot disconnect the resonance. That connection is not bondage, it is spiritual evidence of shared assignment. You must stay steady, even when storms intensify. The enemy thrives on reaction. He loses power when you remain still. Stillness is not weakness, it is warfare in disguise. When you rest in faith, heaven fights on your behalf. When you refuse fear, angels advance. You were not chosen to panic, you were chosen to persevere. Do not allow your mind to dwell on what could go wrong. Focus instead on what heaven has already promised. The vision will stand, the connection will be restored, and the purpose will unfold exactly as ordained. Every obstacle is temporary. Every delay is a test of endurance. In this hidden war, victory does not come by striving, it comes by surrender. You do not fight for victory, you fight from victory. Christ has already declared the outcome. The darkness trembles not because of your perfection, but because of your persistence. Keep showing up, keep praying, keep believing even when nothing seems to move. One day soon, the war within will silence itself. Peace will replace resistance, and clarity will return like morning light after a long night. You will look back and realize that the battle was not meant to break you. It was meant to build the strength required for your destiny. This is the truth about dual chosen ones. Your bond is both a weapon and a target. Heaven guards it, hell resists it, and you must protect it with unwavering faith. Stand firm. Keep your armor intact. The battle is fierce only because the promise is near. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when you begin to see with new eyes. The fog lifts, and for the first time, you understand why certain storms had to come. Every heartbreak, every silence, every unanswered prayer now starts to make sense, not as punishment, but as preparation. You begin to realize that the hand of heaven was never absent. It was simply guiding you through lessons you could not have learned any other way. This is the season where your spirit awakens to recognition beyond flesh. It is no longer about what your eyes can see, but what your heart remembers. You start noticing signs, numbers repeating, dreams that feel more like memories, encounters that stir something ancient inside you. You cannot explain it to others because it's not logic, it's revelation. Somewhere, your counterpart feels it too. Maybe they dream of you without knowing your name. Maybe they sense your presence when they pray. The world would call it coincidence, but heaven calls it alignment. For what is written in eternity cannot be erased by time. You are connected not by proximity but by purpose. In these moments of awakening, it's easy to grow impatient. You might ask, when will we meet? When will the waiting end? But the true beauty of this season is in learning to trust the unseen hand of God. He is weaving a masterpiece far beyond your understanding. Each delay, each detour, each divine pause is a brushstroke of wisdom painting something eternal. You are learning to see with your spirit, to discern the divine patterns in ordinary moments. A sudden peace that calms you in the chaos. A word that speaks directly to your soul. A song that feels written just for you. These are not random. They are divine breadcrumbs guiding you back to remembrance. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. That is your anchor in this season. When logic fails, lean on faith. When doubt whispers, remember divine timing never misses its mark. Your path is being straightened even now, though it feels like you are still walking through curves and shadows. Think of this message as a garden of light. Every word you hear is a seed planted by heaven, and every act of support is a drop of rain that helps those seeds grow. When you share, you let new flowers bloom in hearts that have forgotten beauty. When you subscribe, you promise to return to keep watering what has already begun to sprout inside you. And if one day your heart feels moved to donate, do it not out of duty, but as one gardener passing another a handful of sunlight. You are not paying for words, you are feeding a living flame that brings warmth to wandering souls. No one is forced to keep a garden alive. They do it because its fragrance changed them. In the same way, your choice to like, share, subscribe, or even give is your quiet thank you to heaven for the light you've received. Each act is a ripple, a spark that keeps spreading until the darkness runs out of space to hide. So if this word has stirred your heart, follow that gentle tug of peace. Tap the like, not as a reaction, but as a way of saying, I see the light, share it, so another can find their path home. Subscribe, so you can keep walking this journey of revelation together with the chosen. And if you feel led, plant a seed into this soil of light, trusting that what you give in faith will return as peace multiplied. Because chosen ones build altars, not audiences. And every altar needs those who will keep the flame. You are not giving to a person, you are giving through heaven to sustain the voice that reminds others they are chosen too. Your act, however small, echoes in eternity. You are not just a listener, you are a keeper of the flame. Every flame you tend becomes a lighthouse for another soul still lost at sea. Your light does not fade when shared, it multiplies, guiding others safely toward their divine purpose. Heaven records every act of generosity, not in numbers but in impact. The smallest seed you sow in faith can become a forest of miracles for generations you'll never meet. Keep your heart open, keeper of the flame. What you give in love returns as peace, strength, and revelation. The circle of light never ends, it only grows brighter. The silence between two chosen ones is never empty. It is a divine classroom where both are taught patience, humility, and surrender. You have felt it, the ache that words cannot soothe, the longing that lingers no matter how busy life becomes. It feels like loss, but heaven calls it refinement. Before union comes purification, and before connection comes correction. There are seasons when heaven separates what it plans to unite. The distance is not rejection, It is protection. The fire that burns between chosen ones is too strong to handle unprepared. It must be managed, disciplined, and purified until it no longer consumes, it illuminates. This is why you feel their presence even when they are gone. Separation does not sever divine connection, it strengthens it. God is still writing your story, and sometimes He uses pauses to prepare pages. What feels like delay is actually orchestration. The silence trains your spirit to listen, not just to long. You are learning to love without grasping, to trust without proof, to hold hope with open hands. That is not weakness, it is divine maturity. There are days when you might cry out, "Why must it hurt this way?" But the tears you shed are not wasted. Heaven collects them as evidence of your endurance. Every tear is a testimony that you still believe, even when you cannot see. That is the kind of faith that moves mountains. That is the kind of faith heaven rewards. The word reminds us of this hidden purpose, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old, in the book of Romans chapter 8, verse 28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Even in separation, God is working for your good. He is sculpting both of you into vessels strong enough to carry His glory without breaking. When you feel the weight of loneliness, remember you are not being punished. You are being perfected. The furnace you're walking through is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to purify the gold within you. There is something sacred about waiting with faith. Waiting polishes the soul. It teaches you that divine love is not desperate. It is disciplined. It endures. It trusts timing more than emotion. Heaven is using this space to strengthen your discernment, to heal your fears, and to build within you a heart that can love without losing itself. When two chosen ones finally reunite after such fire, their bond is unbreakable because it is built on revelation, not on rush. You will both look back and realize that the distance was necessary. Without it, you would have mistaken passion for purpose and emotion for eternity. So breathe, stop asking when, and start thanking God for what He's doing now. Every quiet day is shaping something eternal in you. This silence is not the end of the story, it's the tuning of instruments before heaven releases the symphony. Your pain has purpose, your waiting has weight, your faith has not gone unnoticed. The same God who allowed this distance will bridge it in His perfect timing. When that moment comes, it will not be fragile, it will be fierce, certain, and divinely sealed. Now, as a prophetic act, I invite you to comment the number 444 below. This is not superstition, it's symbolism. The number 444 represents divine stability and angelic order. It means heaven is building something that will not collapse. When you write it, you're not typing digits, you're declaring, "My foundation is faith, not fear. My waiting is worship, not worry." Type 444 if you're ready to trust God with the timing of your connection. Type it as your silent prayer that says, "Even when I don't see it, I still believe." And as you do, know this: heaven hears you. Angels record your agreement. What has been delayed is not denied. The hands of God are still moving, shaping, preparing. Your story is still being written, and every chapter, light or dark, leads to glory. Rest, chosen one. The fire will not consume you. It will refine you until only gold remains. When you type 44404, you are not sending numbers into the void, you are releasing faith into the atmosphere. Each digit becomes a stone in the foundation of your destiny, declaring that you trust heaven's structure even when your eyes cannot yet see the architecture of the promise. Those 3 fours speak stability, alignment, and divine order. They tell heaven, "I am ready for what you are building in me." This simple act becomes a silent covenant, a spiritual handshake between you and God that says your patience will no longer be pain. It will be proof of preparation. Every trial you've endured, every closed door, every season of silence has not been random, it has been training. Heaven has been shaping you and your counterpart in parallel, crafting both of you into vessels fit to carry divine authority. Though you may not see it, every lesson, every scar, every victory echoes across the spiritual connection you share. You are both being refined for something far greater than personal fulfillment. You are being prepared for thrones. The training of the two thrones is not a simple process. It requires endurance, obedience, and humility. It demands that you surrender your pride, your plans, and even your pain. The throne is not given to those who seek power. It is entrusted to those who can handle responsibility. You are not being trained to rule over people. You are being prepared to govern atmospheres. Your words will carry authority. Your prayers will shift realities. And your unity will open doors that no human key could turn. But before heaven crowns, heaven tests. You have faced storms designed to reveal what you worship. When comfort left, did you still trust when promises seemed delayed? Did you still believe when your name was misunderstood? Did you still choose grace? These are not coincidences, they are the lessons of royalty. The king trains his heirs through experience, not explanation. The training does not always look holy. Sometimes it feels like breaking. You may look around and wonder why others seem to advance while you remain still. Yet in truth, you are not stagnant. You are being strengthened. Hidden seasons are holy classrooms where God teaches you the language of leadership, patience, compassion, and discernment. Your counterpart is walking through their own refinement too. Though your paths may look different, heaven synchronizes the lessons. When you feel pressed, they are being shaped. When you learn surrender, they are learning strength. The fires differ, but the purpose is shared to make both of you thrones of balance. One carries the mantle of wisdom, the other, the mantle of warfare. Together, you represent heaven's perfect symmetry of mercy and might. Sometimes the lessons come as loss. People you thought would stay begin to fade. Opportunities vanish before they bear fruit. It hurts, but each departure is divine pruning. A throne cannot be built on unstable foundations. God removes what would collapse under glory, ensuring that when He elevates you, your platform will not crumble. There is purpose even in your isolation. The world teaches leadership as control. Heaven teaches it as surrender. You are learning that power is not loud, it is still. True authority flows from those who have learned to kneel before they stand. In this refining process, remember that God wastes nothing. Even your mistakes become material for His design. The lessons you regret are the very ones shaping your discernment. The pain you wish you could forget is the tool He uses to teach compassion. Nothing you've lived through is lost, it is all being woven into wisdom. And when the time comes, the connection between you and your counterpart will not be emotional, it will be functional. You will both understand the cost of obedience and the strength of surrender. Your voices, once trembling, will carry power because they've been trained through pressure. Your hearts will burn with purpose, not pride. The Word of God captures this principle perfectly. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 2. Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years, to humble and test you in order to know what was in your heart. That wilderness was your classroom. The humility you learned there is your qualification for greatness. Many desire crowns, but few endure deserts. You have walked through yours with tears, with trembling, yet with faith, and heaven has taken note. Soon, the training will shift to assignment. The things you've prayed for will begin to appear, not as rewards, but as responsibilities. You will feel heaven's weight settle gently on your shoulders, not as burden, but as purpose. You will no longer chase validation. You will carry vision. Every hidden season will suddenly make sense. You will see that the reason for your isolation was preparation, not punishment. God could not afford to release you prematurely, because untested power destroys. Now, you are different. You have become a vessel that can carry glory without arrogance, influence without corruption, authority without pride. This is the transformation heaven intended from the beginning. You were never meant to stay ordinary. The fire you walked through was your anointing being purified. The tears you cried were baptisms of readiness. You have been trained not to merely survive, but to reign. The thrones are almost ready. The two lights, forged separately, will soon stand together, two crowns reflecting one glory. And when that moment comes, you will understand that every hardship was a lesson, every delay a design, every silence a sacred strategy. You are never behind, you are being built. There is a subtle shift in the atmosphere that you can feel before you can name it. It is as though heaven itself has changed frequency, and your spirit, tuned by years of waiting, finally begins to resonate with it. This is what it means when the whisper of alignment begins. It is not loud. It does not demand attention. It speaks softly, in moments of quiet, through signs that only a surrendered heart can recognize. You start to notice divine patterns reappearing in your days, conversations that mirror your prayers, numbers that repeat like gentle reminders, encounters that seem too precise to be coincidence. You are not imagining it. Heaven communicates through rhythm. The same spirit that formed stars into constellations is now aligning your steps with divine design. The whisper calls for stillness. You have been trained to listen for thunder, but now you must learn to discern the breeze. Heaven does not always shout its instructions. Sometimes it sings them softly into your soul. When your mind quiets and your spirit becomes attentive, you begin to hear that melody again, the one that sounds like home. This is how heaven teaches awareness. Before the great moments arrive, God gives you small confirmations, training your spiritual hearing so that when destiny's trumpet sounds, you recognize its tone. The alignment begins long before the manifestation. You are not waiting for the event, you are already being synchronized with it. Your counterpart is hearing the same whisper. They may not recognize its origin yet, but their spirit responds instinctively. The same message echoing in your heart reaches theirs. It might come as sudden conviction, a wave of peace, or a pull toward prayer. Heaven speaks to both of you at once, weaving your obedience into a single song. Sometimes this whisper feels like restlessness, the feeling that something new is near but not yet revealed. That is not anxiety. It is divine momentum. The Spirit is adjusting your position, aligning your heart, redirecting your focus. The whisper is not asking you to move faster, it's asking you to move rightly. Many mistake alignment for acceleration, but they are not the same. Acceleration without alignment leads to collapse. Alignment may feel slow, but it is steady. It builds roots before revealing fruit. The whisper teaches you timing, how to walk in step with heaven rather than racing ahead of it. The process can feel lonely because few around you hear what you hear. You try to explain the unexplainable, a sense that heaven is near, that change is coming, that peace is preparing you for something new. Do not be discouraged if others cannot see it yet. Alignment often begins invisibly. Flowers bloom underground before the first color breaks the soil. At this stage, your greatest task is to maintain peace. Peace is proof of alignment. When your spirit is settled, heaven can move through you effortlessly. Anxiety blocks the frequency, but worship clears the channel. The whisper of alignment thrives in quiet confidence, not frantic striving. If you listen carefully, you will realize that heaven never stopped speaking. You had simply been surrounded by too much noise. The silence you once feared has now become your sanctuary. You start to crave it, because in it you finally hear the truth again. You are safe, seen, and guided. The scriptures echo this truth, as Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 27. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. You are hearing that voice now, not through ears, but through spirit. Every moment of obedience brings your frequency closer to heaven's wavelength. You no longer react to life, you respond to instruction. The whisper becomes your compass. As alignment deepens, you begin to see divine patterns in unexpected places. A delayed meeting turns into a divine appointment. A closed door redirects you toward hidden opportunity. What once frustrated you now reassures you, because you've learned to recognize heaven's fingerprints even on detours. This awareness transforms how you pray. You stop asking when and start asking, how can I align? You begin to thank God for doors that didn't open because you now understand that delay protected you from distraction. Gratitude becomes your posture when peace becomes your proof. This is the secret of divine synchronization. Heaven does not need your speed, it needs your sensitivity. When your heart and heaven beat in the same rhythm, even your smallest step becomes a divine act. Soon, you will realize that the whisper never left, it was always there, waiting for you to listen. Now you do. And because you listen, you align. And because you align, heaven moves. There comes a moment in your spiritual journey when light meets shadow, and you realize that discernment is not a skill, it is a shield. The more your spirit awakens, the more the enemy sends distractions disguised as destiny. These distractions rarely appear as danger. They come wrapped in beauty, familiarity, or comfort, whispering promises that sound holy but lack heaven's breath. This is the shadow test, the trial that every chosen one must face. You are learning to recognize imitation light. The enemy cannot create, so he counterfeits. He studies your desires and offers replicas of what you've prayed for, hoping you'll settle for resemblance instead of waiting for revelation. At first glance, the counterfeit feels divine. They speak your language, reflect your wounds, even seem to understand your calling. But soon, something shifts. Your peace begins to fade. Confusion creeps in where clarity once lived. The connection that started as comfort starts pulling you away from your purpose. That's how the shadow operates. It mimics the light until it drains it. You may ask, how do I know if this is from God? The answer is simple, but sacred truth always carries peace. God's presence confirms itself. Darkness imitates the form of light, but cannot reproduce its stillness. When something or someone makes you doubt what heaven already told you, you are no longer walking in revelation, you are being tested in recognition. The test of the shadow is not meant to break you, it is meant to sharpen your sight. Heaven allows imitation to appear so your spirit learns to discern beyond emotion. You are not being punished, you are being trained to see with clarity, to sense with maturity, to protect what is pure. It is in this season that silence becomes your weapon. The enemy feeds on reaction. But discernment thrives in stillness. You do not need to explain your boundaries or justify your withdrawal. Simply step back, breathe, and listen. If the peace of God does not return, that door was never divine, This is where many chosen ones stumble, not because they lack love, but because they love too quickly. You are wired for connection, so the enemy uses imitation to delay your alignment. But what is not sent by heaven cannot sustain itself. Counterfeits collapse under truth. When you stop chasing comfort and start pursuing confirmation, the false will fall away naturally. Remember, this discernment is not suspicion, it is recognition. It does not judge people, it identifies patterns. The more you walk in light, the more obvious the shadow becomes. What once deceived you will no longer move you. You are becoming spiritually untouchable, not because you are hard-hearted, but because you have learned heaven's sound. The word reminds us clearly. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 6, verse 16. Stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is, and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. You are at that crossroads now. Heaven is teaching you how to pause before proceeding, how to pray before pursuing, how to sense before speaking. This is divine maturity, learning to wait for the whisper before moving toward the wonder. The counterfeit will always appear first, but the authentic always arrives last and lasts forever. The first stirs excitement, the second builds peace. The first drains you, the second restores you. The difference lies in fruit, not feeling. Wait long enough, and time will always expose truth. Do not fear this process. Every test reveals your growth. Every false light prepares you to recognize true glory. You are not failing, you are being refined into a guardian of purity, a keeper of the sacred. Soon, you will no longer question whether something is divine. Your spirit will simply know. Now, as an act of awareness, type the words "I see clearly." Those 3 words are your declaration of discernment. When you write them, you are proclaiming to heaven and to your own spirit that you will no longer chase illusions. You will walk only where light leads, even if that path is narrow and silent. The shadows no longer frighten you. They only prove how brightly you shine. When you type "I see clearly," you are doing more than commenting, you are commanding clarity over your life. Those words tell heaven that you now recognize truth over temptation, authenticity over imitation, and peace over pressure. It is a sacred declaration that your spirit has matured beyond confusion. Every letter becomes light, cutting through deception that once disguised itself as destiny. By writing "I see clearly," you align yourself with divine vision. You're saying, "My sight is sanctified, my heart is guarded, and my path is pure." This is not just affirmation, it is activation. Your discernment has officially awakened. There are moments when heaven moves so quietly that you almost miss it. After all the storms, after the lessons, after the breaking, something begins to shift inside you. The noise that once filled your days fades, replaced by a peace so deep it feels unfamiliar. It's as if heaven is whispering, "Now you are ready." This is the beginning of the reunion code, the divine orchestration that draws 2 chosen ones together in perfect timing. Reunion is not just about meeting, it's about recognition. When God allows your paths to cross again, it will not be through chance or coincidence. It will be the unfolding of a promise sealed long before either of you knew how to pray for it. Heaven will set the scene so gracefully that it will feel almost ordinary, yet everything within you will know it is holy. This moment will not arrive with noise or spectacle, but like sunrise, soft, inevitable, and full of light. The signs will not demand attention, they will speak peace. Your heart will rest instead of race. Your spirit will whisper, "This is it." But before that moment comes, heaven prepares you both to see clearly. It teaches you to listen differently, to love without control, to move in trust instead of fear. Because when two chosen ones meet again, they no longer come as fragments, they come as fullness. You are not meant to complete each other. You are meant to confirm each other. That is the secret of reunion. Heaven never rushes it. You cannot force divine timing, and you do not have to. Every delay has been building depth within you. Every silence has been planting roots of understanding. So when the moment finally comes, it will feel effortless because it was never about striving, only about aligning. The Word of God declares in the Song of Solomon, chapter 8, verse 6, "Set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm, for love is as strong as death, its jealousy unyielding as the grave. It burns like blazing fire, like a mighty flame." That verse is not about romance alone, it's about devotion. The kind of love that endures refining and emerges purified. It's the fire that heaven itself kindles, a love that no distance or doubt can extinguish. When you walk into your reunion season, do not be surprised if you feel the urge to give, to bless, to pour into others. That's not coincidence, it's overflow. When heaven fills your heart, generosity becomes natural. You no longer give to earn favor, you give because you feel favor flowing through you. Think of this space, these words, this message, as a river of light. Each time you like, you drop a pebble into the current, creating ripples that reach souls you'll never meet. When you share, you become a stream that carries hope into deserts of despair. When you subscribe, you become part of the steady tide helping the current grow stronger, flowing farther. And when your heart feels moved to donate, think of it not as payment but as planting. Each seed you sow is like a lamp lit in the dark, guiding another chosen one toward their own awakening. You are not obligated to give, you are invited to participate. This is how light travels through hearts that say, "I want to keep this flame alive." You see, this is not about supporting a platform, it's about sustaining a purpose. Every contribution, every simple act is a way of saying, "I believe in what heaven is doing here." When you give, you help this river of revelation continue to flow, reaching those who are still searching, still hurting, still waiting for their reminder that they are chosen too. And maybe that's the true beauty of giving. It mirrors God's own nature. He gives without demand, loves without condition, and blesses without expectation. When you give from that same spirit, it transforms your offering into worship. It becomes part of your legacy, an invisible thread connecting your story to countless others. So if these words have touched something deep inside you, follow that peace, because gratitude is light. Share, because truth multiplies when spoken. Subscribe, because the journey of awakening is not one to walk alone. And if your spirit leads you, donate not as a transaction, but as a tribute to the God who never stopped believing in you. Your giving is not measured in numbers, it's measured in impact. Every act, no matter how small, echoes through eternity. And heaven, in return, sends back blessings not in wealth alone, but in wisdom, healing, and unshakable peace. You are not being asked, you are being reminded that you have the power to keep the flame alive. The same light that has guided you here can now flow through you to reach another. Be the vessel. Be the ripple. Be the reason someone else remembers that hope still speaks. Because when chosen ones give freely, heaven smiles and the reunion of light begins. There comes a stillness after recognition, a deep peace that settles over your spirit when you finally understand what heaven was doing all along. You begin to see how every delay, every tear, every test was preparing you for this The unshakable covenant. It is not merely a promise between two souls. It is a divine agreement between heaven and earth. When the paths of dual chosen ones align, the atmosphere shifts. You no longer move as individuals, you move as one divine current, carrying both grace and authority. This union is not based on emotion, attraction, or even timing. It is founded on obedience. The covenant exists because God willed it, and what He ordains cannot be undone. The unshakable covenant is not built in comfort, it is built in battle. You have both been through wars that tried to weaken you. You've faced betrayals that carved humility into your hearts. You've walked through silence that taught you how to listen beyond words. All of it was necessary. Only those who have endured the fire without burning can hold the torch of covenant without trembling. When two chosen ones finally align, heaven releases a power unlike anything the earth has seen. You will notice it not in dramatic signs, but in divine stillness. When you pray together, the atmosphere responds. When you speak, peace follows. When you stand in unity, warfare ceases. Your agreement becomes a weapon that darkness cannot withstand. This bond is not romantic first, it is spiritual. It is not built to please emotions, it is built to fulfill prophecy. You are two thrones designed to uphold one kingdom purpose. Your voices carry weight in the spirit because they echo heaven's decree. When one prays, the other's angels move. When one feels weak, the other stands firm. Together, you form a fortress that shields purpose from distortion. The covenant is unshakable because it was written before you were born. Even when doubts come, the bond will remain because it was sealed by divine intention, not human will. You are not tied by flesh but by flame, holy fire that neither distance nor darkness can extinguish. Still, do not mistake unity for uniformity. The covenant celebrates difference. One carries wisdom through gentleness, the other carries power through passion. One speaks peace, the other carries authority. Together, you reflect heaven's balance. The beauty of divine partnership is not sameness, it is synchronization. Each plays a distinct note in heaven's song, but when joined, the harmony awakens nations. Every word spoken in unity carries creative force. Heaven listens to agreement. That is why your covenant must be guarded with purity. Words of bitterness, fear, or pride weaken its resonance, but words of faith strengthen it until it becomes an unbreakable sound that reverberates through realms. The word captures this mystery in perfect simplicity. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, verses 9 through 12. Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. There it is, the divine mathematics of covenant. You, your counterpart, and God. 3 strands, one purpose, unbreakable strength. It is heaven's design that even when both of you waver, the 3rd strand, God Himself, holds you together. This kind of unity transforms how you see everything. Life's challenges no longer appear as attacks, they become assignments. Every obstacle reveals a new layer of trust. Every silence invites deeper listening. And every victory draws you closer to the one who walks beside you in the unseen. When you finally step into your shared calling, the world will not understand it. Some will envy it, others will misunderstand it, but those who carry spiritual sight will recognize it instantly. They will feel the authority in your words and the peace in your presence. That is the mark of an unshakable covenant. It speaks even when you are silent. Heaven does not join chosen ones for sentiment, but for strategy. This covenant is meant to heal, to restore, to build, and to awaken. Where your individual lights once flickered, your combined flame now drives out shadows. And though the journey ahead will still hold challenges, your bond will not falter, for it was not built by emotion, it was forged in eternal fire. You are not simply partners, you are divine counterparts. Heaven's living proof that what God joins, no force can separate. The unshakable covenant is not just between two, it is between heaven and destiny itself. When two chosen ones walk in unity, something powerful happens that even the heavens take notice of. The air around you begins to hum with divine purpose. Miracles no longer appear as isolated events, they start to follow you like loyal companions. This is the moment of the birth of the double mantle, the release of multiplied anointing that comes when obedience meets alignment. You've carried your individual mantle through storms, through silence, through rejection. But now heaven begins to weave both mantles together into one seamless covering of glory. It is not about hierarchy or control. It's about harmony. One carries revelation, the other carries authority. One breaks chains through wisdom, the other through fire. Together, your purpose amplifies until the spiritual atmosphere itself begins to shift. This is the promise hidden within every divine partnership multiplication. What you once could do alone, you will now accomplish tenfold. Your words will heal faster, your prayers will travel farther, and your faith will reach deeper. But remember, this increase does not come from striving, it comes from surrender. The double mantle is not earned, it is entrusted. Heaven does not pour double anointing into unhealed hearts. That is why the fire had to come first to burn away pride, fear, and self-will. Only through surrender can you carry what heaven is about to release. The double mantle does not make you greater than others, it makes you more accountable. When the mantle descends, you will feel it before you see it. There will be a weight to your peace, a depth to your words, a power in your stillness. You will notice that when you speak, atmospheres adjust. When you walk into a room, confusion lifts, not because of who you are, but because of who flows through you. This is the era of shared authority, two chosen ones carrying one vision. You are no longer isolated torches. You are twin beacons lighting paths for others to find their way. And through your unity, heaven demonstrates what divine collaboration looks like. The scripture reveals this principle of multiplication, as the prophet Elijah spoke as recorded in the second book of Kings. Chapter 2, verse 9. When they had crossed, Elijah said to Elisha, "Tell me, what can I do for you before I am taken from you?" Elisha said, "Let me inherit a double portion of your spirit." That double portion still flows today. It is not limited to prophets of old, it is the inheritance of every obedient heart that has endured the wilderness and refused to quit. You have been asking God for increase, but heaven was preparing your capacity first. Now, the vessel is ready. The double mantle will not arrive with thunder or fire. It will arrive quietly, yet unmistakably. You'll notice doors opening with less effort, words flowing with more power, discernment sharpening like a blade. It will feel natural, but it will not be normal. That is how you know heaven has begun the transfer. This moment is not just about you. The double mantle flows through you for others. Every gift you've been given, wisdom, compassion, courage, is meant to multiply through service. When you help another rise, the oil increases. When you pour out in love, heaven refills what you release. This is how divine economy works. You never lose by giving, you expand. So as this new mantle begins to settle, stay humble, stay teachable, Remember that power without purity collapses, but authority rooted in humility endures. The greater your anointing, the deeper your need for grace. Heaven will continue to test your heart, not to punish, but to keep the oil flowing clean. And now, as a prophetic act of agreement, type the number 555 below. The number 555 symbolizes divine change, grace multiplied, and transition into greater purpose. When you comment 545, you are declaring, I am ready for transformation. I embrace heaven's expansion in my life. It is not just a number, it is a covenant of readiness, your written yes to God's new season. Let it be your gentle proclamation that you trust heaven's increase. The double mantle is not coming, it is already here, waiting for you to carry it with courage and humility. When you type 555, you release faith into movement. Each number becomes a symbol of transition, declaring that you are stepping boldly from waiting into walking, from preparation into manifestation. These digits echo heaven's rhythm, grace multiplied, destiny unlocked. 555 whispers that divine change is not coming someday. It's happening now, within and around you simultaneously. By writing 555, you seal your agreement with transformation. You are saying, I accept growth, I embrace increase, and I walk willingly into the fullness of heaven's expansion over my life. Before glory is revealed, there is always a test. Before a crown is placed upon the head of a chosen one, heaven must first examine the heart beneath it. This is the moment of the test of the crown, the quiet proving ground where intention and humility are weighed. You have been through the fire, received revelation, and now walk with power, but the true question remains. Can you carry greatness without forgetting grace? This test does not arrive with visible enemies or dramatic storms. It comes in subtle ways through comfort, recognition, and opportunity. The same hands that once prayed for breakthrough may now be tempted to grasp at control. The same heart that once longed for God's will may now long for approval or applause. Heaven watches not to condemn, but to confirm whether your motive is still purity or has become pride. The higher you ascend, the softer the whispers of temptation become. Power will never test your strength, it will test your surrender. Can you hold influence and still serve quietly? Can you be praised and remain invisible within your spirit? These are the questions of the crown. The true danger of elevation is not falling, it is forgetting. Many lose sight of the source when blessings overflow, mistaking favor for entitlement. But the mature soul remembers that crowns are not rewards, they are responsibilities. Every throne is a stewardship, not an achievement. Heaven does not grant crowns to glorify you, it entrusts them so you may glorify Him. You will know you are facing this test when God begins to bless you publicly, but speak to you privately about humility. The applause grows louder, yet His voice calls for silence. The doors open wider, yet He asks you to walk slower. This contradiction is sacred. It is heaven's way of keeping your spirit low enough for the crown to rest without crushing you. The scriptures illuminate this process of refinement. As was written in the first letter of Peter, the chapter 5, verse 6, humble yourselves therefore under God's mighty hand, that He may lift you up in due time. The lifting is not the end, it is the beginning of greater service. God elevates only those He can trust to remain teachable. If you wish to keep the crown, you must continue to bow. The more heaven gives you, the more it requires from you, not in labor, but in love. During this test, comparison becomes your greatest trap. You will see others rising faster or receiving more visible favor, and jealousy will try to whisper that you've been overlooked. Do not listen. You are not being delayed. You are being deepened. Crowns built on comparison crumble under weight. Yours is being forged in authenticity. At times, the test of the crown may even come disguised as comfort. God will grant you success, peace, or recognition, only to watch whether you will still depend on Him when the struggle subsides. It is easy to pray in hunger. The real proof comes when you can still worship in abundance. Your counterpart will face this same test, often in different ways. One may be tested through solitude, the other through influence, yet the lesson remains the same. Humility is the anchor that keeps power from drifting into pride. If both of you endure this refining, your union will remain pure, unshakable, and radiant. When heaven confirms your passing of this test, a new kind of peace will settle within you. You will no longer feel the need to prove or defend your calling. You will no longer chase recognition, because the only eyes that matter already see you. You will begin to move differently, quietly confident, deeply rooted, and full of grace. That is the evidence of maturity, peace without performance. You do not have to announce your authority, your presence carries it. You do not have to demand respect. Heaven commands it on your behalf. The true crown is invisible, yet its weight is felt by every atmosphere you enter. When the test of the crown is complete, you will find yourself gentler, wiser, and more merciful than before. You will begin to understand that the greatest rulers are the greatest servants, and the strongest leaders are those who kneel first. The journey you've walked through fire, shadow, and silence was not meant to make you famous. It was meant to make you faithful. And when you look in the mirror and see the reflection of humility staring back, you will know that the test is over. The crown is no longer just a promise, it has become part of you. There is a quiet moment that comes after the testing, when heaven decides that the refining has reached its fullness. You may not even recognize it at first. There is no loud announcement, no sudden flash of glory, but something within you shifts. The war that once raged inside you calms. The uncertainty that once clouded your mind clears. You realize that you are no longer the same. The version of you that once fought to be seen has now learned to simply be. This is the rise of the divine pair. When two chosen ones emerge from their separate fires, they do not return as they were. Their eyes see farther, their words carry greater weight, and their spirits radiate a calm authority that no performance could ever imitate. The world may not understand it, but heaven recognizes it instantly. The divine pair rises not with noise, but with undeniable presence. This rise is not about titles, positions, or recognition. It is about embodiment. You are no longer chasing your calling, you have become it. The waiting, the pain, the isolation, all of it has carved heaven's message into your very being. You no longer carry purpose, you are purpose. And when your counterpart walks beside you, it is as if heaven's reflection appears on earth. Together you move like harmony itself, two voices that were once trained in solitude now blending into one holy sound. The world feels your presence before it hears your words. People find peace just standing near you because your union carries restoration in its very frequency. This is what it means to be a divine pair, living evidence that what God joins carries heaven's vibration wherever it goes. When the divine pair rises, they do not strive to convince anyone of their anointing. They simply move, and the evidence follows. Miracles happen quietly. Hearts soften without argument. Doors open without knocking. It is as though creation itself recognizes your authority and yields to it. You were made for this moment, not to be worshipped, but to awaken worship in others. And yet, rising does not mean the absence of challenge. The higher you ascend, the thinner the air becomes. You will notice that the path narrows even as it brightens. The divine pair is called to a life of continued obedience. for elevation only deepens responsibility. Your words, once mere expressions, now carry spiritual weight. A careless sentence could shake or heal a soul. This awareness demands wisdom, restraint, and grace. The rise will also reveal new layers of humility. You will meet people who misunderstand your peace as pride, your confidence as arrogance, your silence as distance. But you will not need to defend yourself, for your fruit will speak louder than accusation. The divine pair does not argue with misunderstanding. They simply keep shining until truth becomes undeniable. The scriptures speak to this posture of quiet greatness. As it is written in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden." That verse is not about fame, it is about visibility with purpose. The light that once flickered in your isolation now burns steadily on the hill of divine assignment. You are not shining for attention, you are shining for direction. So others may find their way home. When heaven elevates the divine pair, the world will not see perfection, it will see perseverance. They will see scars and strength coexisting, wounds transformed into wisdom. The divine pair becomes a mirror of redemption, showing others that brokenness can indeed become beauty when surrendered to God. In this season, you will begin to notice doors opening into unfamiliar territories, new places, new voices, new responsibilities. Do not fear them. These are not detours. They are extensions of your calling. Heaven expands those it trusts, and this expansion is a sign that you have passed the test of stewardship. As you rise, remember this truth: the divine pair does not exist to be admired but to inspire. Your unity is not meant to be a display of perfection, but a demonstration of possibility, proof that two hearts refined by grace can become vessels of heaven's power. The rise is not a moment, it is a movement. Every step you take together becomes prophecy in motion. Every breath you share becomes worship incarnate. The divine pair does not just live, they embody the kingdom. And the world, whether it understands or not, will be forever changed by your light. And when the world witnesses your light, they will not see two people, they will see heaven's reflection walking in human form. Grace and glory woven into one divine rhythm. There is a sound rising in the spirit, low, steady, powerful. It is not the noise of chaos, but the vibration of purpose fulfilled. Heaven calls it the roar of heaven's twins. When two chosen ones finally stand in full agreement, their voices merge into one divine resonance that shakes both realms. It is not a sound of aggression, but of awakening, the cry of light reclaiming its territory. You can feel it before you hear it. A holy boldness begins to grow within you, a sense that silence no longer fits the size of your spirit. You were never meant to whisper truth, you were meant to carry it. The roar isn't about volume, it's about authority. It's the sound that says darkness has lost its grip. When dual chosen ones release this roar, it doesn't come from ego but from alignment. Heaven lends its voice through human lungs. The words you speak in love start breaking generational chains. The prayers you whisper ignite fires across nations. Together, your voices don't just echo, they create. Creation recognizes you as its rightful steward again. The roar is not only in your words, it's in your presence. When you enter a room, peace rushes in. When you worship, the atmosphere bends. When you speak, even silence listens. That is not confidence, that is divine commission. Heaven's power flows through yielded vessels, not loud ones. But this roar comes with responsibility. Power must always remain anchored in purity. As the divine twins walk forward, heaven calls you to use your influence to heal, not to boast, to build, not to control. The sound you carry was never meant to draw attention to you. It was meant to draw people closer to the presence that shaped you. Your calling now extends beyond personal restoration. You have become a messenger of awakening. Every word you share, every prayer you lift, every act of compassion becomes part of heaven's song of redemption. As the word declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 29, verse 4, the voice of the Lord is powerful, the voice of the Lord is majestic. That voice now echoes through you. The roar of heaven's twins is not about shouting into the wind. It's about living so loudly in truth that silence itself transforms. And here, as you stand on this sacred hill of purpose, your journey intersects with countless others still searching in the dark. That's why the roar matters. It's not about fame or recognition. It's a signal fire. Every echo of your obedience becomes a lighthouse for someone else's storm. Let your roar ripple through kindness, your faith hum through actions, your courage shine in compassion. And if your heart feels stirred to help amplify this message, to keep the light burning brighter for others, there are many ways to do so. When you light up a kun, it's as if you are striking a match in the night, saying, "I see this flame." When you share, you become the wind helping that fire travel farther. When you subscribe, you join the circle of warmth, keeping the glow steady and alive. When you comment, you add your voice to the chorus. Each word becomes another note in the song of awakening. Write what your spirit feels, it may be the very echo someone else needs to hear. And if you ever feel led to donate, imagine it not as giving, but as planting. Your gift becomes a tree whose shade will comfort someone you may never meet. You are not paying for words, you are watering seeds of awakening that will grow in places your feet may never walk. Every act of support, no matter how small, becomes part of the roar. It tells heaven, we are listening. We will not let the light go out. And heaven, in response, multiplies what you release, turning small gestures into eternal impact. This is not persuasion, it is participation. It's an open invitation to those whose hearts have been moved by light to keep it moving. So, if this message has stirred something inside you, follow that peace, like the flame, share the sound, comment your heart's echo, subscribe to stay near the source, and if your spirit leads, donate as an offering of gratitude, as a whisper of agreement, as your personal roar joining heaven's. Because every spark matters, every echo counts. Every hand that tends the flame becomes part of heaven's symphony of awakening. And the world, watching from its shadow, will begin to see light still lives, and it roars through you. And when your light joins countless others, the world will tremble under the sound of unity. The roar will become revival, and heaven's melody will echo through every awakened heart. Even as glory unfolds and heaven's roar moves through you, the story is not finished. Every rise carries with it a refining, and even light must pass through fire again to prove its purity. This is the final refining fire, the sacred stage where what remains is tested not to destroy but to perfect. At this point, you are no longer the one who begs for confirmation. You are the one who embodies conviction. Yet heaven, in its wisdom, allows a final flame to touch your life, not to punish, but to polish. This is not the consuming fire of judgment, but the cleansing fire of love. You will feel it in subtle ways. Relationships shifting, desires changing, ambitions melting away that no longer serve divine purpose. The refining fire does not burn what is yours. It burns what you've outgrown. It separates weight from wings so that you can ascend freely into the next realm of destiny. You may ask, haven't I already been through enough? But understand, the deeper the calling, the purer the vessel must be. The fire you faced before trained your endurance. This fire purifies your essence. It strips away what you cannot carry into eternity: pride, fear, self-reliance. You are not being reduced, you are being revealed. The flames of this final refining are invisible to the world. Outwardly, life may seem calm, but inwardly, something holy is happening. God is rearranging your desires, aligning your motives, anchoring your spirit even deeper in truth. This process does not require your effort, only your surrender. It is here that the divine pair is tested one final time, not against each other, but for each other. The question is not whether you can love when everything is perfect, it's whether you can remain faithful when heaven is silent again. Love is easy when the fire is warm. It is proven when the fire refines. Through this last testing, heaven watches how you handle power and peace. Will you remain gentle when authority grows? Will you still listen when success arrives? The fire reveals the answer. It shows whether your heart remains a sanctuary or has become a throne. And if any trace of self tries to sit where only God belongs, the flame will remind it gently to step down. The Word of God declares in the book of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 9, "And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them." This is the essence of the final refining. You are being made into something heaven can trust completely. When you call, heaven answers instantly because your voice now carries the same frequency as divine will. You no longer pray for your desires, you intercede for His. You will notice that your responses begin to change. The things that once angered you now only move you to compassion. The wounds that once defined you now become wells of understanding. You have become a vessel that no longer leaks peace. You contain it. The final fire also brings clarity. You begin to see people as heaven sees them, not as threats or burdens, but as sacred stories still being written. The judgment that once lived in your heart is replaced with mercy. The more you are refined, the more love you carry and the less you need to be right. This is the kind of transformation that cannot be faked. It is not performance, it is presence. The divine pair, after passing through this last fire, shines differently, not with effort, but with essence. Their glow comes from authenticity, not attention. When heaven looks upon the two of you now, it does not see servants still in training. It sees vessels ready for glory. The refining has done its work. What remains is gold, humble, radiant, incorruptible. You may not realize it yet, but the very fire that once terrified you has become your crown. Every spark that burned away your comfort has made room for clarity. Every flame that tested your patience has lit your path. The refining was never meant to hurt you, it was meant to heal you from everything that could hinder your purpose. And when the fire finally dims, you will not be scorched, you will shine. Your heart will carry heaven's reflection, your words will carry heaven's wisdom, and your presence will carry heaven's peace. The final refining is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your reign. And now, the journey draws to its divine completion. The storms that once roared have quieted. The fires that once purified have cooled to gentle warmth. What remains is not who you were, it is who you were always meant to be. This is the eternal flame, the everlasting testimony of those heaven calls the dual chosen ones. You stand now as light personified, your soul no longer bound by the patterns of the past. The weight you carried has turned to wisdom. The pain you endured has become power. The long road of surrender has revealed its purpose. You were never walking toward destiny. You were being shaped into it. Every wound, every silence, every delay was not a detour but a design, guiding you here to this still and sacred place of completion. The eternal flame is not about achievement, it is about embodiment. It is what happens when two spirits, purified by process and united by purpose, burn not for recognition, but for revelation. Your very existence has become a prophecy fulfilled. You no longer chase miracles, you are one. When heaven looks upon you now, it sees not two individuals, but one reflection of divine will, a living covenant, a human expression of heaven's eternal intention. You and your counterpart have become something beyond ordinary understanding, living symbols of God's unbreakable love, a flame that cannot be extinguished by time, distance, or even death. This flame does not flicker, it endures. It does not demand attention, it draws it naturally. Like fire in the dark, its warmth comforts the weary, its light guides the lost, its glow exposes hidden beauty in others. You have become what the world most needs but least understands, living fire that loves without fear. The eternal flame is also a mirror. When people encounter you, they see what they could become if they surrendered as you did. Your peace becomes their invitation. Your endurance becomes their permission. You are no longer just chosen, you are now the evidence that faith transforms, that purpose restores, that love never fails. Even now, heaven continues to breathe through you. The work does not end here, it expands. You are a carrier of continuity, a reminder that divine purpose does not conclude, it evolves. The eternal flame moves from one generation to the next, passed through acts of kindness, words of wisdom, and moments of mercy. It is the eternal ripple of light that outlives every lifetime. And when people ask, "How did you endure so much?" you will smile, not in pride but in peace. For you will know that the answer was never strength, it was surrender. The flame never belonged to you, it was entrusted to you. And now, it burns so purely that even darkness can no longer approach it. As the scriptures proclaim in the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 23, the city does not need the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God gives it light, and the Lamb is its lamp. That verse is the essence of your existence now. You have become a vessel through which divine glory shines, not borrowed light, but reflected truth. You are a lamp that carries the brilliance of the Lamb himself. You no longer need external validation, for your light comes from within, sustained by the source that never fades. The eternal flame is both your inheritance and your offering. It cannot be contained by circumstance or diminished by time. Wherever you walk, light follows. Whatever you speak, life awakens. Whatever you touch, transformation begins. You are heaven's lantern, lit by eternity itself. Your journey has fulfilled its purpose. The wilderness that once frightened you has become sacred ground. The tears that once fell in silence now shimmer as jewels of wisdom. The prayers you thought went unanswered have become the architecture of your victory. Everything, absolutely everything, has worked together for this moment. Now you understand that being chosen was never about being different, it was about being devoted. To be a dual chosen one is to live as a continual flame, faithful, fearless, eternal. And long after this world changes, long after your story is told, the light that burns within you will keep shining through those you've touched. You are not the end of a prophecy, you are its continuation. The flame will move on, igniting others, spreading through generations, until every shadow is gone and only glory remains. This is what it means to be chosen to burn beautifully, endlessly, and without regret. The flame now lives beyond you, woven into every life your light has touched. You have become eternity's echo, an endless glow that whispers, "Love never dies." And when your journey fades into memory, heaven will still remember your fire. For chosen ones never vanish, they become constellations of eternal grace. If you have walked this far through the words, if your spirit has trembled, healed, and awakened along the way, then you already know. This was never just a message. It was a mirror. Every sentence has been a reflection of the light within you. Every pause a breath from heaven reminding you that you are not forgotten, not ordinary, not random, you are chosen. And now, as this final page closes, the story continues in you. The light that found you here is asking only one thing: let it move forward. When you like, it is as though you breathe softly onto a spark, keeping it alive a little longer. When you share, you lift the flame high, letting its warmth touch another soul that's quietly freezing in the dark. When you comment, you send your echo back to heaven's heart, saying, I am still listening. I am still shining. When you subscribe, you're not following a page, you're joining a pilgrimage, choosing to keep walking this road of revelation with others who carry the same light. Every time you return, the flame grows stronger, steadier, brighter. And if your heart ever feels led to donate, think of it not as giving, but as planting. You are placing one more seed of light into soil that already blooms with hope. Somewhere, someone will find that light because of your quiet generosity. You are not funding words, you are fueling awakening. So as you reach this sacred ending, take one last breath of peace. Let gratitude rise. Like, share, comment, subscribe, or donate if your heart whispers yes, but above all, live as the flame you have become. For the world does not need more noise, it needs more light, and that light is you.